Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges on the entire planet. How does a country even begin to manage the needs and dreams of over 1 billion people, while also trying to protect the very environment they depend on? It's a massive balancing act, and today we're diving into how India is tackling it.
Okay, to really get your head around the scale here, let's just start with one number, 17.5%. That's the slice of the entire world's population that lives in India. Think about that. That's more people than the whole continent of Africa. This single fact really sets the stage for pretty much every challenge the country is up against.
And this brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's this fundamental tug of war, isn't it? The push for human development versus the pull of keeping the planet healthy. How on earth do you provide for so many people without completely wrecking the natural systems that everyone needs to survive?
To really understand what's happening now, you have to go back to the numbers. I mean, the story of modern India is, in so many ways, a story about its population. The incredible scale, the lightning-fast growth, and the inevitable scarcity of resources that comes with it. What's really wild here isn't just the growth, but the speed of it. In just 60 years, between 1951 and 2011, the population more than tripled. I mean, that is an incredible surge that put enormous pressure on absolutely everything, from food and water to jobs and housing.
But here's the thing. This pressure is not spread out evenly, not even close. The extremes are just mind-boggling. You could be in the mountainous state of Arunachal Pradesh, where there are only about 17 people per square kilometer. Then compare that to the state of Bihar, where you have a jaw-dropping 1,102 people packed into that same amount of space. It's literally like two different worlds inside the same country.
So, why the huge difference? Well, it boils down to a mix of geography and, you guessed it, money. For centuries, people have naturally settled in fertile plains with good soil and weather. But lately, the real game changer has been the pull of industry and jobs, which acts like a massive magnet, pulling people into already crowded cities and industrial areas. And when you have that many people packed so unevenly, it creates this cascade of problems that are all tangled together. You end up with more people looking for jobs than there are jobs to go around. It strains the food supply, makes poverty harder to escape, and puts an unbearable load on infrastructure like housing, water, and transportation. And, this is the big one for our story, it directly leads to major environmental damage. So how exactly does all this pressure translate into an environmental crisis? Well, it creates this ripple effect that pollutes the very air we breathe, the water we drink, and the soil we grow our food in. It's not just one problem. It's a battle being fought on many, many fronts, all at once. First up, the air. In many places, it's just choked with a toxic mix coming from millions of cars and trucks, heavy pollution from factories, and, depending on the season, thick smoke from farmers burning what's left of their crops.
Then you have the water. The country's rivers and lakes are just being overwhelmed. They're dealing with untreated sewage from huge, sprawling cities, toxic waste from factories, and a constant stream of chemical runoff from farms.
And it's not just the air and water. The soil itself is in trouble. That same push to grow more food leads to farmers using way too many chemical fertilizers and pesticides. At the same time, industrial waste often gets dumped improperly, poisoning the very land we need to survive.
And finally, there's a pollutant you might not even think about: noise. In the dense cities, the constant roar of machinery, the endless traffic, the honking, it all adds up to a level of noise that can seriously damage people's health and quality of life.
Okay, so that's a pretty daunting list of problems, right? So what's the plan? Well, the big idea, the blueprint for trying to find a way out of this maze, is a concept called sustainable development. It's all about finding that critical balance between progress and preservation.
Now, you've probably heard this classic definition before, but it's just so powerful in its simplicity. The key here is that it's not about stopping development, not at all. It's about developing in a smarter way, thinking about the long term, and making sure that the resources we're using today will still be around for our kids and grandkids. This whole idea is really built on 4 important pillars. First, equality, making sure everyone gets a fair shot. Second, sustainability, protecting our resources for the future. Third, productivity, which is really about investing in people, in their skills and health. And finally, empowerment, giving people the real power and freedom to make their own choices in life. So, to turn this philosophy into an actual action plan, India, along with countries around the world, adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. Think of these as the official to-do list.
They set clear targets for everything from ending poverty to providing clean water and protecting the planet. This is the roadmap.
Okay, so we have the philosophy and we have the roadmap. But what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's zoom in on some of the huge national missions that India has launched to tackle these challenges head-on.
So you've got the problem of massive river pollution. The solution? The Namami Gange program. This is this huge, all-in mission focused on the monumental job of cleaning up and reviving the Ganga River, which is an absolute lifeline for millions and millions of people. Another problem, widespread sanitation issues and a waste crisis. The answer to that is the Swachh Bharat mission, which means Clean India Mission. This is a massive, nationwide campaign that's been focused on building toilets to eliminate open defecation and completely overhaul how the country manages its trash.
Then there's the problem of financial exclusion, which can trap people in poverty. To fight this, you have the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Its goal is super simple but powerful: get everyone a bank account. It's about giving people access to basic financial tools so they can build a better economic future.
And what about the huge gap between city and countryside? To power development in rural areas, there's the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Jyoti Yojana. It's a scheme focused on bringing a steady, reliable supply of electricity to rural India, which is absolutely fundamental for improving everything from businesses to schools.
Which of course leaves us with the ultimate question. India has a plan. It has a blueprint, but given the sheer staggering scale of its population and how urgent the environmental crises are, you have to wonder, can these solutions work fast enough to win this monumental race against time?